On March 30th, 2022, the sun released one of the strongest types of solar flares known as an X-class flare, prompting organizations like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to sound the alarm on the arrival of a fairly large coronal mass ejection. But you probably didn't even notice because the energy of the storm was harmlessly absorbed by Earth's magnetic field. It was big enough, though, that people living as far south as Iowa could see the aurora borealis, and that doesn't happen often. One of the biggest CMEs to happen in recorded human history was the Carrington event of 1859. Thankfully, we were not as reliant on electricity then, but it was big enough to disrupt the world's entire telegraph system. Telegraph operators reported getting shocked by their devices, and auroras were seen as far south as Cuba. If another Carrington-style event happened today, it'd be a much bigger deal.
So in an extreme case, when you have a very, very large magnetic storm, it can actually take out power and destroy transformers over a large region of the United States, for example. And it's not localized like a tornado or a hurricane or flooding. It is regional, multiple states, like the whole New England area or the South, or all of the West Coast, depending on how the power grid is oriented and where the energy is absorbed.
While that sounds really scary, it's astronauts in space that have to be worried about solar flares and the radiation they carry. One solar storm in 1989 caused a massive blackout in Canada and gave the maximum yearly radiation dose to cosmonauts aboard the Mir space station in a matter of hours.
Not only does our Earth's magnetic field protect us, also the atmosphere also absorbs a lot of energy that just never gets down to the surface. So we don't feel a lot of the radiation and that sort of thing because it's absorbed by the atmosphere. But out in space, especially when you have astronauts, for example, on the International Space Station, even though it safely not safely, but it is protected within the Earth's magnetic cocoon, it's still radiation impacts, and we are on constant alert.
So yes, this is all really terrifying. But what are we doing about it? Well, our infrastructure is actually pretty prepared to handle such a powerful solar storm. In fact, power companies and federal regulators have issued mandates since 2015 to ensure power grids have equipment that are more than prepared to handle a huge power surge from a solar flare or even a large CME. So yes, a big CME could happen in our lifetime, but instead of freaking out and learning to cope with life without the internet, just enjoy the light show and let nature run its course. It won't last as long as you think.